Okay, look up. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Our topic today on this October 26th,
Yes, yeah.
2025, the last Sunday in October, is life and death. And the reason the topic is life and death is that on November 2nd, which is probably next weekend, that is the official Mexican holiday um, that is honoring it. They call it the Day of the Dead. So, and it's to honor them with and welcome them. But in Mexico, they believe that their loved ones actually come back to visit them at that time. And so when they think of them lovingly and
Looks like
create,
I'm dying here.
you're disappearing, are
Yeah,
you?
you're talking about the dead, and it started going away. And it's very scary.
Please stay
Yeah.
here. Uh, so, any rate, let me begin with this introduction. Um, Many traditions talk about life and death. Our declaration of principles of our science of mind tells us that, quote, we believe in the eternality, the immortality, and the continuity of the soul in perennial expansion. So that says a lot right there. The eternality, that we are eternal beings, not just this lifetime, that we're immortal, so meaning we continue to live in spirit, and the continuity, so which is the ongoingness of life, is what we believe in spirit. And then something similar happens with the Mexican culture on November 2nd, the Day of the Dead, where it's believed that death is the return of the soul to the eternal house of God. The celebration is a feast in memory of people who've already made their transition in this life, and they're honored by having rituals and symbolism that emphasize remembering over forgetting. And although the festival varies from region to region in the country, the popular belief is that on that day, the deceased souls return to this world to visit their family and friends. So we believe that too, but we believe actually they're always available. It's not just they don't just return on a particular day, but it's nice to have a special remembrance. And they believe that as you think of them, have their picture up, remember them, that keeps them coming back to visit you. So that's why we're talking about life and death. Excuse me. So I have another quote. We really do believe in the ongoingness of life, that there is no death except to the mortal body. So our founder, Ernest Holmes, said, the principle of life cannot know death. The experience of dying is but the laying off of the old garment and the dawning of a new one. There are bodies celestial and bodies terrestrial. There's a material body and a spiritual body. This spiritual body is the resurrection body. So that's what we believe. We it seemed to experience it a lot with our loved ones who have passed over, continuing to communicate with some of us, and so it's easy to believe it.
For those of you who live in the Palm Beach County area, uh, Daniel Brinkley is going to be doing a lecture presentation there, and you can just, if you have a computer, you can Google Daniel Brinkley. And Daniel, I actually know him. Judith and I both know him. And he is one of the people who's had a near-death experience, who has written several books about it and lectured, and actually dedicated his entire life to exploring with other people and helping them explore this life after life experience. And he was became personal friends with, oh, who wrote the book? I can't think of his name.
I'll think of it in a
Right, yeah.
minute.
So life after the book is called Life After Life. I highly recommend for everyone here that you go to YouTube and look in Life After Life, and it's a I wish I could think of
Compilation of
it's there's seven different people who've had near-death experiences, and several of whom, or actually one or two of whom we've met. And it's really fascinating. And it's really important because although we're talking about life after physical death, there's still, for most of us, a gnawing feeling that says maybe not, I don't know. And, there's a lot of fear connected to it. And so I think for us to have more information on that and really understand that has two benefits. One is that I think we can live, as many people who've had a near-death experience do, fearlessly. And the second thing is that it also connects us to an idea that is really, I think, really, really fundamental to everything we're talking about today, and that is the continuity of life. We're not here just to have this experience. It's kind of like for some of you who've maybe had 3 or 4 lives, you're in third grade or fourth grade, and you're going to graduate eventually. And so every lifetime is a school. It's an education for the soul, for the body, for the being. And so we experience this ongoing education. And why that's important is that there's meaning to it, there's value to it. And those that we are connected to are very likely to be those that we're going to be connected to in the future as well. We may have unfinished business with some people that we've come here to be with. And so this whole idea of coming here and living our lives and then having an ongoingness is so, so important for daily living.
Well, let's go back and give a more detailed story about Daniel. We met him in the 1980s when Bob was doing seminars around the country, and Daniel was on stage as well, as was Moody, Dr.
Raymond Moody.
Raymond Moody, who wrote the book Life After Life, and then created a video that we highly recommend people watch. You can find it on YouTube. It's called Life After Life, and there are 7 people's stories about having lost a loved one. And then in the video, they their near-death experiences where a loved one comes back and tells them about what they experienced. So it's really very valuable for learning to believe there is life after death.
And for those of you at our age, it's not a new thing to have lost somebody, but if you haven't had many losses and you've just recently had one, this is an extraordinarily helpful video because it really, I think it just absolutely gives evidence, solid evidence that life continues on. And one woman who was on the videotape, which I thought was fascinating, she was she was dying. She left her body. She went out into the hallway and listened, I think, to her stepson. I think it was his
A
stepson,
brother-in-law.
brother-in-law, say, "Well, it looks like I'm going to be tied up this weekend. My
Sister-in-law is going to
sister-in-law's
kick the
kicked the
bucket.
bucket." That was
No, is going to kick the bucket.
those are his exact words.
She was
So
from Alabama.
right, and then she left that hallway and went to her sister's house and watched her sister unpack the groceries from the car to the house, and then went back. So when she came back into her body and recovered, she confronted her brother-in-law, and he said, "Yeah, that's exactly what I said."
I don't want to admit it, but that is what I said.
And Daniel Brinkley was in the surgical suite. They were operating, and he left his body, and he's out over his body looking at it, and he heard the doctor saying, "I'm not going to make it."
Well,
And
let's tell him what happened. We haven't told him what happened.
he was on the telephone taking a contract on phone, I believe, and he was hit with that. They say 187,000 volts of electricity. Lightning came through the phone, welded his shoes to the floor, and threw him across the room. And
And apparently killed him.
yeah, and so the ambulance came and they put him on a gurney and they're taking him to the ambulance. And he's above his body looking down. And he said, "I thought it was better looking than that." You know,
So vain.
yeah. We don't lose that. Our ego goes with us. Yeah. And so, but interestingly, when he went through the tunnel, he called it a tunnel of light. He saw what he believed was the artwork that I make. In fact, actually, when he
Yeah.
was on television a
The
couple
mandalas like we have behind us.
right. So when he was on TV a couple of times, he had my artwork all around behind him. And he said, "I want to support it as best I can because this is what I saw when I nearly died." So why I'm going there is that my art is to die for.
But the interesting thing is, so they were rolling him down to the morgue
Yeah.
because he had died, and he had a sheet over him. And he said, suddenly, the only thing he could move was his breath. And so he started doing this little, blowing with his mouth,
On the
and
sheet.
the attendant saw the sheet puffing up where the head was, and he said, "Oh my goodness, what is this?"
So the attendant had his first near-death experience.
And he had a long recovery because that was quite a well, it almost killed him.
Yeah.
They thought it had killed him, and so he had a long recovery. But what he had done before this incident was he took contracts out on probably from the U.S. government.
Really, we can't talk
He
about
was a hitman in
it.
any rate in
He,
South
he,
America, I think.
he rearranged people's lives.
And he said what he had to experience when he went through the tunnel, went the other side, was he had to experience, and he had been in Vietnam too. And he said he had to, every person he had killed, he had to experience everything their loved ones felt when they learned that they had lost their loved one.
3 people deep.
3 people deep. How many people it affected? Excuse me. And that was an interesting learning thing for him
Mhm.
and turned him around. From then on, he spent his time trying to share this story and help people
Well, at
understand.
least for a while, I don't know that he's doing it now, but because I know he's on the lecture circuit and he's published several books, but he was actually working in nursing homes, in hospice care, helping people make their transitions.
Well, he's still
Yeah,
telling a story, and trying to help people
yeah.
understand
Oh, yeah,
life doesn't end with death, and it's better not to be killing people.
right. When I
He
was
says he's earning brownie points now with the good work he's doing.
when I was working at Broward Hospital, I was asked to go up to see a woman who was with the family to see a woman who they were discontinuing all of the life supports because she wasn't going to live. So they discontinued everything. And when she took her last breath, I and one other person in the room saw a spark of light literally leave her body. And the woman was so sick. She, did you see that? And nobody else did, but the two of us did. And that life force, that life energy is continuous. So if nothing else today is going to be held on to, I would hope you would hold on to the knowing that life is eternal, that we just, it's not over because our physical body gives out. And that's really, really important. Although you can do everything you can to take care of this physical body, I take care of mine. And the reason I do that is to have the best life possible, not to live forever.
Exactly. And you can communicate with your loved ones. You may not hear anything back at first, and you might, but just know that if you think of them lovingly and remember them lovingly, they feel that, and it brings you to their mind, and you may or may not be able to hear from them, but they can hear you, and they are not in some far off place. They're really right here. They're really right here with us, just in a different dimension, so a much higher vibration.
Yeah.
So we can't see them and usually can't hear
And it
them.
may not always be people. I meditate every night when I go to bed, and I do my gratitude list for all of those that are in spirit that have contributed. My guardian angel, Ernest Holmes, and I literally go through all of the different people in my life that have changed or in some way transformed my life that are on the other side. And almost every night now, for the last month and a half, I can feel the presence of a dog that we've lost recently lay down next to me in the bed,
Mm,
and I feel his presence and I feel his smile. I feel his joy, and I think, and it makes me smile. And so, our pets are also in spirit, and I don't know where they go and what they do. But it's
they
nevertheless,
probably hang out with their loved ones.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so it's just fascinating to me, and we had a very close. It wasn't our dog; it was a Judith's son's dog, and passed on. And but I had a very close relationship with that dog, and the dog knew it. And so you don't know who's going to see, who's going to connect with you. So allow yourself, give yourself permission to connect with that which is beyond your physical senses.
Yeah, with joy, with
Yeah,
joy. Um, I was going to say something about, oh, Daniel. When we met him, he had blonde hair. And I recently saw a picture of him and he has gray hair and a gray beard. And I thought, wow, I almost didn't recognize him. And then I realized now I have gray hair. He won't
So,
recognize me
and I
either.
had a lot of hair, and so I think we're going to go see him, and we won't recognize each other.
Uh, so yeah, nowadays it's pretty common to hear about near-death experiences, but when Raymond Moody wrote the book,
It
it
wasn't.
was actually, I think, his doctoral
It
thesis
was. It was.
that he did a study of cases because nobody talked about it. A
Right.
lot of people just don't talk about things that they think other people will think they're crazy. As a matter of fact, I one of my best friends of 50 years who recently made her transition had lost a son many years before to AIDS. And I asked her because I was hearing messages from my son who had passed away. And I said, "Do you ever talk to your son that passed?" And she said, "All the time." I said, "Well, why didn't you ever say anything to me about it?" And she says, "Well, I just don't generally talk about it." But she said, "Who do you think insisted that I make these CDs of her vocals?" She's a singer and she's a jazz singer. So she made several CDs of her singing. And she said, their son was the one who insisted that she do that, who had passed away. And I'm so glad she did now because I have those CDs of her singing, which are a wonderful legacy, you know.
Mhm.
So, and don't be frustrated or disappointed if you don't hear from them. Just continue to think of them with love, think of them fondly, thank them for whatever they did to help you. And
Celebrate the
best
day.
thing I can recommend if you want to communicate is meditate
Yeah.
daily.
And celebrate the days of their living.
Yes, yes, celebrate the days and the times that you had together. This is another statement about this transition thing that I would like to share. I think it's brilliant. And it comes from just this perennial wisdom tradition. So I don't know where it comes from, but it says, as one's consciousness widens, and that happens usually through meditation. And meditation is just going into the silence and trying to still your chatter, trying to still, it's called the monkey mind, just try to still all thoughts, which is pretty much impossible, but you'll get longer and longer periods of just quietness. And when there's just quietness, that's just being, you're being. And then you can receive. So this quote says, as one's consciousness widens, so too does the relationship to life and death. To the unconscious, death is an enemy. To the conscious, it's inevitable. To the awakened, it is a transformation.
Mm.
And that's what we wish to be. We wish to be awakened so that we know this is just transformation means a change in form. It's a change in energy and a change in form.
You have something from Khalil Gibran, I think also.
Yes,
That's really what you said.
Khalil Gibran. I do. I love this poem. Uh, then this poem is called Fear. And it says, it is said that before entering the sea, a river trembles with fear. She looks back at the path she's traveled, from the peaks of the mountains, the long winding road crossing forests and villages, and in front of her, she sees an ocean so vast that to enter there seems nothing more than to disappear forever. But there is no other way. The river cannot go back. Nobody can go back. To go back is impossible in existence. The river needs to take the risk for the ocean because that's where the river disappeared into the ocean.
That's beautiful.
It's a beautiful metaphor for what we believe
Yeah,
happens.
that man could write.
That man could write, yes.
I want to bring it back to daily living, the daily living experience. You have learned a lot of things as you've grown up. many of which not only have you forgotten, they seem to be even unavailable when you reach for them. And so it would seem as if some of your life experiences are dead and gone. But when you do things that require the benefit of what you've learned from those experiences still feed the daily living. And so we're being fed on a daily basis by by our history, by the story that we've been telling that is alive and well with all of its many, many parts. And so every day's memory, every day's experience is recorded and archived in consciousness and becomes part of the who you are, even when you don't know it. And that's so important, especially important when you look at some negative things that have happened, although most of you have never had anything negative happen. But if you've been through a relationship that didn't work, or you've been fired, or you've had an illness that you only partly recovered from, or you had a condition that has really bothered you for a very long time, that is part of what you have learned from. That is part of what has brought you to where you are and the wisdom that you have. And so if you look at everything that's happened to you is still alive and well, but serving you instead of hurting you, then life becomes your experience becomes a service to your growth. And I think that's important because I think for sometimes we can get caught up in feeling sorry for ourselves or dwelling on our losses. And it's only when we stop doing that we begin to see our gains. We begin to see what it has taught us. And that's really, really important. I was I owned a Porsche years ago, and I tried to race it with a group of people that were racing Porsches and Corvettes, and there were about 50 people in the group, and I came in 49th, so I was really good. And I went to my
with no training, right?
and I went to my Porsche mechanic who raced cars, and I said, "This car does not handle like it should." Don't we say that about our bodies sometimes? This body doesn't handle the way it should. Well, because he was a specialist on Porsches, he took me for a ride, and I was really grateful that I had extra underwear in the car. I had no idea what this car would do, nor do we have any idea what this body and what this body of experience can do. And
And
so,
what our spirits can do.
right. But one of the things he taught me was, see, I was riding to the edge and then I would stop. He said, you have to ride beyond the edge and see what the car will do and learn how to manage it. Isn't that true about our lives? We have to live a little beyond the edge to see what our lives can teach us, what we can learn, what we can do. So the next time I took it to the race, I spun out twice, but only twice. And I'd never done that before because I'd never allowed myself to go that far because for me, that was too far. And the truth is, it wasn't far enough. I learned from that and when the car would break loose and what to do. And I'm grateful to say that I finally got to where I came in at 22, 23, as opposed to 49. I didn't race that much. I wasn't that good at it. But by comparison, I took my worst fear, which was losing control, and allowed myself to lose control and gained greater control over my life. And I think that's a really important lesson for all of us. When you get into the edge, I call it when you have a breakdown of any kind, that's the edge you need to be on for a breakthrough. And if you will, dying is really a breakdown at one level and a breakthrough at another level. So think about the experiences that have died in your life, the people that have died in your life, the struggles you've had that where death appears to be what's happened. And those are all the points for breakthroughs, for a new life, a greater life.
Indeed. So let's do a screen share here. Can you click the screen share? I think it's the
There we
green
go. I
button.
see it. And some of you are really wanting to support this ministry, and we appreciate that you do. Okay.
Support it financially.
Yes.
Because we do have
Well,
expenses.
the first support is you show up and you're here and you're part of our family. And we're hopefully part of your family as well.
Indeed. So we do an affirmation when we ask people to share, and how you can donate is by going to our website, and one of the top buttons says ways to donate. Yes. And you click on that and it'll show you how you can donate to the center. And we like to say this affirmation because we really believe in the law of circulation, that as you give, you do receive. So anything you want more of, give more of it. And let's say this affirmation. My investment today is made with the full realization that God is the source of my supply and returns it to me enriched and multiplied. So it is.
Okay, and we're going to end here. No, stop. I don't see stop. That's end.
Stop the record.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to turn the computer to see it. I can't see it with the light in my eyes. Here it is.